This is the Sundance Film Festival, Shadow and Act, Powerful Black Women Shaping the Film Industry. I am here gathered with some beautiful, amazing, talented, and strong women in our industry. We're going to go in a circle and introduce ourselves. I'm Bresha Webb, actress from Run the World. I've directed a movie, a short film in Sundance under the LOL production company with Kevin Hart, and I've starred in one as well. Ada, let's start with you.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Ada Chiaghana. I work at Higher Ground Productions as our Senior Vice President of Development and Production. Before this, I was at HBO on the original programming team, and I'm thrilled to be here today.
Thank you. And you, Chardae?
Hi, I'm Chardae. I work at Netflix on our multicultural publicity team, leading a lot of our Black audience strategy. I'm super excited to be here with these lovely ladies and you as well, Bresha.
Thank you. And you, Mercedes? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mercedes Cooper. I'm the Senior Vice President of Public Programming for Ava DuVernay's Narrative Change Collective Array.
That's amazing. Well, welcome, every single one of you. We're so excited to talk to you and learn so much about you. One question that comes to mind is, what made you or inspired you to go into this field? There's so many fields in the entertainment industry, but what attracted you and how did you get to where you are? If you could sum that up, what really sparked your attention to get into the field that you're in?
Well, my name starts with A, so I will go first. I come from like a big movie watching family, every weekend for 92 weekends straight. In fact, I got from just to date myself, Blockbuster employee. My family rented 2 movies and a video game. And it helped me like in college later in life, I was like miserable, not vibing with the culture and at a PWI and not loving it and having a hard time. And I realized that like the communication medium of film it can time travel ideas. It can go across, it can travel across the world. It can travel through space, all of it. And I really fell in love with the power of that, the power of the medium to communicate ideas, to communicate feelings, to help us feel like part of something, to help us understand, to help us learn. And so for me, that was the thing that sort of drew me into the industry.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I am too part of the Blockbuster generation, card holding member through the 80s and 90s. Our family went every Friday. Um, yes, my brother got to select a film. I got to select a film, and it was just part of our family time. And I think that definitely influenced, a lot of it were films that didn't necessarily have anything to do with who I was or where I was from. Bill Murray films, Steve Martin films, all those kind of golden 80s films. But I think one thing that really started helping me think about having a place in film was Julie Jasch's film, Daughters of the Dust, in the early 90s, and being exposed to that and having that click and say, oh, wait, I've never seen anything like this before. And it's possible. Just having that possibility presented to me very early as I was moving into college and studies, and now interested in world film and cinema and things of that nature. That really kind of helped. Her film helped open a door to seeing Black people in film, but also the artistry around cinema as a possibility.
And I'll say for me, and I would say entertainment in general would be when I would come home from school and record 106 in Park or Spring Bling or any roundtable top 5 conversation that MTV would put on. And that would be my only time to ever hear journalists really argue about who their favorite rapper might be. I'm from San Diego, so LA was a hop and a skip away. And growing up in a household where we watched films and seeing my dad put all his money into a surround sound and a 65-inch TV, and being able to watch a lot of our favorite Black films, favorite Black movies, favorite Black content at home. And so it really was for me just trying to understand of like, who are the people that put these dope round tables together that have these conversations around, you know, was Big Pimpin' a music video that maybe we shouldn't have put out? Those were conversations I was really interested in. And so I had the opportunity to move to LA, went to Cal State Dominguez Hills, which was really at a lot of a heartbeat of what was happening in LA as a campus, especially in the entertainment industry. And honestly, it just kind of started and kicked off from there when I moved to LA and came out here for college. And then I came into PR.
That's incredible. I just can say for me, representation in this industry as Black women matters the most. You know, just having a seat at that table and what that changes the dynamic and the decisions that are made. How do you feel that in the film industry, and you as well, Chardae, being a publicist as well, how do you feel us being at the table as Black women is changing the narrative, is changing the conversation, even now from where we were, maybe when we started, till now?
I mean, I would say, especially seeing more of us in these roles and more of us in these rooms, we're asking the questions that nobody's asking. We're providing the perspective, the insight from personal experience, from being raised in households to having commonality, in not just in American Black experiences, but also global Black experiences. And so for us as Black women, what we provide is the because we know what the is when we grew up. And then we're able to kind of be in these rooms and really deeply listen and actively listen to conversations in a way where we're providing perspective that is shifting a lot of the philosophies, the ideologies around what publicity or marketing or a lot of these roles are behind the scenes, especially when a lot of these roles have been centered on access and not capability. And for us, it has never been about capability. We just haven't had the access. And so we are now seeing at an unprecedented time where we are now taking over a lot of these roles, and year by year, we're starting to somewhat feel the difference of what happens when we are in these roles, when we have these voices in these rooms, and when we are able to make significant pivots on strategies and executions and visions for the most part. And I think what people, you know, obviously on the outside, everybody sees finished product and, you know, talent are at the red carpets and stuff like that. But at a lot of the times, that's a vision that came from a Black woman who said, you know, hey, we need to have this shot or this look, or we need you to be in this specific role and play this part. So it's fundamentally changing the trajectory of the industry by and large.
I agree. It all starts with a Black woman.
Absolutely.
It all started with a Black woman. You know, if we go deep into the film industry, we know it was started by women. And we came into play too, because we were there as well. You know, we're just creative people. But do you have anything else you'd like to add to that, Mercedes or Ada, at all?
No, I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm really fortunate. I've been with Array for 10 years, and I'm not in a room alone. I'm not in an institution alone. Our organization was founded under the vision, the very, you know, pristine vision of filmmaker Ava DuVernay, our president, Telaine Jones, who heads up manages all of our companies, but also leads the charge on acquiring and distributing film releases. Myself, you know, working on the nonprofit public programming side now, though I was working in on our marketing and branding for many, many years. And then we have another, one of my colleagues, Tammy Garnes, who's our vice president of Education and Understanding, who is developing these really beautiful interactive learning companions to go with all of the films that we develop and distribute. And so I'm in a really fortunate place where, although we're not a monolith, each of us are our own very distinct and different versions of Black women with our own ideas and interests and things of that nature, there is a foundational understanding among us that we don't have to, go the step further to explain when we gather to meet or share ideas. And so that makes working at Array for me a really, really beautiful place to be, because it frees up my mind a little bit more to not have that extra hurdle of having to talk about this, the hair, the whatever, the skin color, the whatever. I'm feeling a different mood, the 50 billion times I'm going to change my hair in 1 week, or, whatever it may be. That's not even a topic of conversation. I can just come and be and do my job and be supported in the role that I'm playing at our company. So I like to bring that up because it is quite different from other counterparts where, there are so many curatorial and film programmers that are now being added to teams from museums here in Los Angeles to film festivals. And it's just really beautiful to see. But I know that I don't have that extra hurdle of having to fight for things that are inherent in me already.
Yes. I mean, well, just coming from such a place at that table, what advice would you give to a creative that is yearning to be at the table, but hasn't had that opportunity to be at a Array company or something, but has to be at the table that they're at? How can they make their voices and their projects be heard so that they can be in the room and be heard in the room? And this can be for male or female, but do you have any advice for them and just how to get beyond that?
Yeah, I say stay strong in your individuality. That's what makes us all beautiful, no matter, what gender we are identifying with, what ethnicity we're identifying with, just showing up as you. I think even if it's misunderstood or maybe not accepted on your initial, the more, look, Array 10 years ago, people did not think that we would still be standing, but here we are just celebrating our 10-year anniversary because of an idea that seems, kind of far-fetched for a lot of people, which was a collective distribution of films to sort of disrupt the theater model. So, I say stand strong in your individuality and in your ideas. And if it's something you feel very strongly about, whether it's your project, whether it's a new organization format or model, keep going with it. Find others who are like-minded and can get on board, support, and understand where you're coming from, rather than fight against necessarily those who do not.
Like Mercedes, you what you said is so true. Like, I hear that as hear from everybody, but listen to yourself. Value your own voice, because everybody else is here to, like, not necessarily here to, but you have to be a self-advocate so that you can advocate for the rest of the community, for the people who are coming up behind you, and understand yourself in a continuum in that way. And so, further advice I would add to that, honestly, like that, sorry, it just really spoke to me, because that is the lesson that we've had to learn, and this is a little bit cheeky, but I will just say, don't fall into the trap of rise and grind culture. It's a scam. You need to be like, if we've learned nothing in the past 10 years of the pandemic, it's that you need to take care of your mental health. You need to protect your peace. At every age, you need to understand, you have to hold space for yourself where you are safe to be fully who you are. And you can put that into your art. You can put that into the way that you speak, the way that you show up at your job, the way that you, like, whatever you're trying to do, be you, because that is the only, like, there's nothing new under the sun but you, And the last thing that I'll offer on that same topic is just, like, no man is an island. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to be necessarily in LA. I'm from Houston, Texas. And, we're doing, like, I could be in Houston right now. Nobody would know, So, like, do what you can with what you have, where you are today. The difference between these mediocre movies getting made with these mediocre protagonists who look like every person who's come before, is that it exists. There was a script for someone to buy. There was a web series for someone to try to turn into a script for, you know what I mean? Like, just do the work, start today. Don't wait, and don't be scared that you don't know enough or that you don't know enough people. Do your part so that you can show up and get found.
I received that. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I just have to say this. I haven't even seen this on the questions, but being Black at Sundance is a movement. I just think it's time for more creatives to be a part of the conversation. We have some awards that are being, Sundance movies that are being awarded, and all these movies that are being up for awards this season. Do you see our voices really making the curve so we can go into more of the indie curve of awards? When you see movies like Passing, and you see movies like, it's another movie that's bringing, just content that is moving the needle, for us to be at Sundance. Do you think we need more of that? Do you think we need to push the envelope even more? Even with publicity, making it known that we are and we exist. It was for so long that I would see Sundance films and Sundance projects where I didn't see a lot of brown people, and so now that we're a part of the conversation, how can we move the needle forward? Of course, us cultivating together and, creating teams where we can get together and have our individuality and get people that are like-minded together. But how can we still move the needle forward, coming together even?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I think also with that is really like leaning on all of our resources, right? And you never know until you ask. And I think I'm a big proponent of there's no such thing as a dumb question. And a lot of people are scared to ask questions, or they're scared to ask for help, or hey, can you help me get accredited? Or, hey, I'm thinking about potentially doing a panel there. Like, it's honestly us picking up the phone and calling each other and saying, like, I've never been to Sundance. Like, how can I go? Right. Of like having just being honest about the fact of like, some of us haven't went. And we don't know what it looks like, but then saying that and saying, how can I get there? I see, if it's a press person seeing another press person, or who knows, a publicist, like, it's always beneficial to leverage our relationships. And I think that's another thing of our relationships, and the relationships that we build with each other. We have to use them for all that they're worth, right? It's not just, hey, I need this or I need that. It's really, and also it's okay to need things. And I think that's another piece of it, right? So part of it is also acknowledging the fact of like, because we haven't been there doesn't mean that we can't be there, and we should be there, and we can be there. It's just about making sure that we're being as tight as we can of saying, how can I get there? How can you help me get there? How can we lean on each other and what we have? It might be, a smaller, press outlet that doesn't have the reach, that could do more of a strategic partnership with a larger outlet, right? Of like, how can we come together, right? If, maybe I'm very specific in what I'm speaking to, but you have a broader audience, can we come together and do a panel? Can we come together and do a brunch? Can we do a virtual conversation, right? And I think leaning on virtual and how virtual creates more access and accessibility for people who are even watching this, right? This is a great example, this panel where we're on, the accessibility of this is an example, right, of creating virtual spaces where we can have these conversations, thrive in the things that we're really, really great and fantastic at, and being able to uncover all of our talents and the things that we provide. And so I think it's taking the conversation that we're already having and really pushing that even further to make sure that we can have the presence that we want to have, or partnering with partners like a Black House, or finding the films that we see that we're super passionate about, And then also Sundance is doing a great job of also making sure that they're bringing their inclusivity, right? Of bringing more press and outlets there. And, there might be certain journalists who are scared to ask their editor in chief of like, can this be the time that I cover? And I think honestly, especially for our journalists of, if there's a story here, chase that story. You know what I'm saying? If there's a Black film or a Black project that you're not seeing enough of, raise that flag of, hey, this film is going to be at Sundance. I don't see anybody's talking about it. This is our opportunity to talk about it, and here's why. And so I think it's just always where there's a will, there's a way. And it's about us just making sure that we can also hold each other accountable in the resources that we all need to be able to come and be here.
I totally agree. One thing I will say is with women right now, that Kevin Hart has helmed as his, spearhead to get more women in film, Black women directing, writing, is really remarkable. And for Sundance to come on board and to shepherd that into Sundance, I commend Sundance. I commend Kevin Hart for lending his name and using their resources to bring more women of color to come to screen, put their action and have a real production behind it. My efforts and my dreams of being a director are being put into action because of this initiative. So I'm very thankful and grateful to be even invited to Sundance. I was one of those people that was like, when's my time to go to Sundance? And this situation came up, and I'm so grateful that the work that I had been doing in my acting and building and doing that was also preparing me to direct. So I will also say, using your resources, connecting with people, we can see more creatives, more Black women writing, and more Black women directing like Ava DuVernay, and having these amazing companies back, be supported by Sundance and more indie and big film awards,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to add to that, just say that, institutions like Shadow and Act, like they become part of the infrastructure. It's a beacon. You can go to the panel, you can go to the lounge, and you will see other people who are like-minded, like you. Talk to them. If you like, there's a big cost associated to, I don't know about y'all, I don't live in Utah. I don't know a lot of Black people who do. So to get there, there's a cost, but like, can you carpool together? Can you, like, who else can you get to build your team? Because again, you don't have to do this by yourself. Quick story, I had a very good friend who, the first time I got to go to Sundance, I was very lucky. My company was paying for me to go. And I told my friend, you should come because I have a room. Like, that cost off of you. They were like, nah, I'm not going to go to Sundance until I'm invited. I'm not going to go till I have a film. And I was like, when I got there, it was my first time. I didn't know to say, come on, dummy, come and meet people who can help get your film made, because there are financiers here. There are other writers here. There are directors here. There are cinematographers, like everybody's here, and everybody loves this business and loves the work and wants to do more of it. So being able to plug into a place like Shadow and Act, like there's the macro lounge, like Color of Change, like everybody is here and they're here to meet each other, So I just don't want to discount that fact as well. Like the infrastructure is slowly being built, but every year that Shadow and Act comes back, like, that you can go there, and that the vibe, the vibe. So yeah, like I just can't understate the importance of like working with other people and speaking up.
Yes. And collaborating together. My fiance is a Sundance alumni, and and he definitely still keeps in contact and still works with his counterparts from Sundance that he graduated with, and he's building and they're building and they come together, so it's all about using your resources and coming together. I totally strongly agree of just going to those, even Shadow and Act, even when you look at their platform, it's a very respected platform that people can trust, the content that's coming out of it. It's always respectful about the actors and what's being presented. So of course, the people that will be meeting there and congregating there is going to be of one that's going to, cultivate some really great energy. Ada and Mercedes, I have a specific question for you. to from development and programming view, are there any initiatives or practices in place at your respective companies that are breaking the door of opportunities, allowing Black women to pursue artistic storytelling?
I would say for Array, for us, inclusivity is not an initiative. It's just part of our DNA. It's just how we operate. We're just interested in amplifying the voices of Black folk, people of color, and women of all kinds through our daily work. And, we do that through 3 different areas, but it's not an initiative.
I mean, I'll hop in to say, if I may, that, we're a small company, like we're, 10 people, and we don't have initiatives per se. I mean, I'm here, I'm looking for you, but we're part of Netflix, and they have, Netflix has many times the number of people they're looking at every program in town. They're looking at the Access program at HBO. They're looking at NBC's program. They're looking at everybody who does it. They're looking at the Sundance Labs. They're looking at AFI Directing the Women's Workshop. They're looking at all of these places. They're looking at colleges. They're looking at trade schools, and they're looking for you. They're looking for all of the people who are doing this work. And if you're putting it on the internet, publish your drafts, put the stuff out there. If you write 10 great films and and nobody's ever read any of them, I can't do anything for you. So put yourself in the way of being found, as much as you can without, losing friendships and annoying everybody around you. Be a little annoying, but get out there, publish, put it out there so that we can find you, because we are looking and we're really excited about you.
Oh, so y'all are receiving resumes and
I mean, I heard there was a young woman, Bresha Webb, who directed a short film that I can't wait to watch.
Yes. And she starred in one as well.
You see?
She was coming in hot. You're going to see it, and you're going to see it on both hands. Praise God. You're going to see it today. Oh, you don't know? Let me show you. Got no sleep that week. Another thing, just as women, we always help each other, and we've been talking about how we all depend on each other, just collectively. Has there been a person in your career that has single-handedly helped in bringing you to where you are in your career? I can start for me. I can say for me. One person that comes to mind, I held Angela Bassett as the light, the light of everything in my career when I was growing up, watching all of her movies. There were so many women like that, but to work with Angela Bassett, to meet her at a very young, place in my career on ER, and seeing her and her taking me under her wing and saying, don't do that, don't do this, do this, it's going to go like this. It really made me see myself and give me hope for what's to come. I was already doing the work, so it doesn't happen like, oh, I need a mentor or something, because they get scared of that. But, but if you need advice and you have a question, there's been so many women that have taken me under their wing and said, I see you, sis. Let me help you. Maybe you should talk to this person. Let me set up an appointment. Let me see if I can do this, or maybe just guide you in what I think you should do next. And I do my best to do the same for women that are coming up, that need advice, and, make that phone call if need be, but you got to be doing the work. But Angela Bassett saw me at a place and said, I love you. I think you're hilarious. If you're on this show, we got to get you into comedy. You're funny, do this. And it made me feel seen. So that was one person that comes to mind as a Black woman that helped me in my career.
For me, because I didn't have necessarily a direct route to really knowing what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be. And so I just think back to even 20 plus years ago when I was an economics major at University of Maryland, and I just needed an internship before I graduated, and I started working for this small graphic design company that was led by a Black woman in Silver Spring, Maryland. And she taught me programs like Illustrator and Photoshop, just to do, little flyers on the side for the clients that weren't like her large clients and things like that. And then fast forward many, many years later to starting to work with Ava and Array, and us being such a small team, and I became that person on the team that was like, oh, I know how to do that flyer. I know how to make changes to that poster. I know how to make tweaks to this website, and kind of like bringing those skills back. So I would say for me, and even just being in Chicago and for grad school and being an intern on Roll Bounce, was for this extras casting woman. I will never forget her name. Her name is Sharon King. I don't know if she still works in that area, but just seeing her operate and things of that nature, just being able to kind of be in the presence of Black women who own their own businesses and were about their business and expected you to be about their business and your business when you showed up to work for them, from that very first internship as a graphic design student to working in extras casting to flash forward working for Ava and Array. Just kind of the culmination of all those experiences really preparing me and actually giving me usable skills to be active and be knowledgeable about things that may not specifically relate to film and filmmaking, but being able to be a very strong, I guess, supporting role in things that are going on with film distribution, acquisitions, marketing, and now programming and curation of films. I'm just really, really thankful for having been aligned on this trajectory and having each of those women kind of enter into my lives and just show me to be confident and keep moving forward, and to continue learning and growing, and being given opportunities when maybe other people wouldn't have given me opportunities to learn and grow.
That's great. Shout out to Maryland. I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah.
You.
And I mean, there are so many Black women that it's hard to even not name them all, but I would say, at least from the beginning, like, it has to be my mother. My mom is a creative who, unfortunately wasn't, able to follow that passion, but my mom is a writer, and my mom knows and knew how to translate Black women in a way that I had never seen before. My mom wrote my children's books for me, and they were all inspired by me. And so she wrote, I'll never forget, she wrote her book, Working My Nerves. And I remember hearing my mom and my aunt talking about the things that were always working their nerves, but just the idea of what is working your nerves and what does that mean? And when Black women say that, that always stuck with me. And so I think with my journey, seeing Black women at my college who were pursuing their master's degree and going into graduate schools and were taking leadership roles, was a way for me to see Black women cultivate in a way that I hadn't seen before, especially coming from a place of San Diego, which wasn't the most diverse place in the world. And then I think finally, for me, definitely coming into the industry and coming to publicity, Talitha Watkins, who was the VP of marketing at Universal, I mean, I can't thank. First of all, I'm fortunate to come from the school of Talitha Watkins when it comes to publicity, marketing, and PR, because it was not about changing our plans to fit what might have worked for a broader white audience or whitewashing, or kind of, she took what we were doing from a marketing perspective out of white gaze. And what it did is, and I never forget, I was in a meeting and I was a coordinator, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. And before we started a brainstorm, she looked at me and she was like, she's like, you're young and you know what's going on out here. You tell us what we're supposed to do. And that was a moment where somebody knew when they weren't the ones who had the answer, right? And so I think for me, for another Black woman to give me the agency and to turn it on me to say, no, you are the expert. While I can hold this role, you are in something that I'm not in. And so I need you to feel empowered enough in this room to speak your truth. And that was a moment where, especially when you're young and a Black woman and a Black girl, there's so many things that tell you that you're wrong and that's not how you do things and that's not your experience, and also doesn't create space for you. And so I have to be grateful because she made space for us and she put us through some of the best cultural marketing that I had ever experienced, where I can come to a place like Netflix and say, you know, we're going to go through the fire on some of these campaigns and things are going to get rough and ideas are going to fall through, but that's great. That's exactly where you're supposed to shine when things get tricky. And I just have to give so much thanks to Talitha Watkins, because that was a Black woman, a Black leader in a space that completely changed the trajectory, the vision, and the approach of how we even looked at, I wouldn't even say multicultural marketing, just marketing in general, because at the end of the day, the future and the direction that we're going in, it is multicultural marketing. And so I have to give her all thanks and glory for that.
Oh, Lisa Watkins Flowers. I mean, she's extraordinary. I mean, she's a friend of mine, but that's amazing. Well, talking about that, just to piggyback off of that, I just wanted to say, you know, being a strong woman, a strong Black woman in this industry, have you felt that you've, you know, have endured criticism being in this place and the microscope that comes along with being one of the few? Not for you, Mercedes, but just being one of the few group of women at the top of the industry. You know, does the weight of expectation of greatness and excellence play a role in your process?
Well, I'll just say I don't feel like I'm at the top yet. You know, I feel like there's some people ahead of me who I admire, and there's a way I can see a higher seat that a higher seat, a bigger table like that I could get to before I feel like, okay, now I'm at the top of the industry. But in terms of being aware of, let me just get deeper a moment. I do think that there's a conversation that you have with your colleagues when they don't look like you and they don't come from the places you come from and they don't share the language as deeply as you do, about what is good or great versus what is inclusive, as though those are separate ideas. And for me, and I believe for everyone on this call, they're not. Like the best shows, some of the best performing shows, the best movies, and some of the best performing movies come from us and star us and are about us. And so having to remind people of that and having to have your facts to back it up and all of that, like that's where it can feel like a burden in a way that people don't just get it and that you have to explain what is intuitive. But it doesn't keep you from doing, like, it's just, I at this point, I'm like, it's just part of the work. I'm going to have to, the same way that I would have to bring anyone on an idea that I think is great, or a person who I think is incredibly talented and who I think is the wave of the future, like, I just have to explain so that they understand what it is we're trying to do and why it is the very best thing that we could do. Like, Chardae, to your point where you're saying the future of marketing is multicultural marketing, like, I agree 100%, because the entire world is much beiger, browner, and younger, actually, than a lot of the people who are currently the gatekeepers believe. And they're learning that.
And I would add to that to say, there's purpose in what we do. And I don't think that is by chance. I don't think that is by accident. I think for us, it is about creating space, even more space, right? And it is saying, this is frustrating for me, but this is a part of the path, right? And this is a part of the path of creating space. It's like if you're in a big jump house, those air inflatable things, somebody unplugs it and then you're kind of stuck in it. You have to really claw your way out to create space. And so I think for us, while there's only few of us, it's only few of us now, right? And it's about understanding our purpose in creating space for the future. It is about us joining our organizations with younger versions of us to say, hey, let me be a resource. How can I help? Let me keep my eye on you. It's about us creating groups and email chains where we're sending resumes of interns and new graduates. And hey, I know this fabulous assistant over here. Do you have an opportunity? It's about the friend groups that we have within each other as an industry, sharing information and saying, hey, I'm doing this here. You should think about it there. It's about all of that. It's about the community that we create. It's about the investment in the community that we create. But more importantly, it's also about the grace that we give ourselves as Black women in these roles to also understand that it's a first for a lot of us too. You know what I'm saying? And it's about being present in the experience to be able to have the language to say, hey, you don't have to do this because I already did this, right? Don't do what I did. We've knocked that door down already. I need you to focus on this door. And when you knock this door down, the next person, I need them to focus on this door. And it's a continuous build. This work is never done. We are just, for the most part, getting started. And I say this all the time, but when I think about film and the film industry and the films that have been made, you know, Birth of a Nation as really kind of like that historical, you know, first feature-length film, and it's D.W. Griffith, and it's about the KKK, 7 Days from Slaves, which were white people in blackface. And that film and the person who created that film is what propelled and created this studio system. You have to know where that history, right? To say, where are we now, right? And when I think about Black films growing up, Bresha, I think about you. I think about you as somebody, you know, I've watched you on my TV screen, and that inspiration. It's about seeing Black women who have told themselves yes versus no. It's about all of that. So I think for us, it is understanding that what we do is not small. And I think we have to understand the history of our decisions, because at the end of the day, when we go on from this, we're going to say, you know what, that was a pain in my side, but I'm glad I did it, because if I didn't do it,
you want to open the door for me.
This next generation wouldn't have been able to take those learnings and say, you know what, no, I talked to Chardae, she told me what happened on this, so this is how we're going to do this differently.
Yeah.
And it's sharing our learnings too. It's all of that. So I think the biggest in a shorter version is maintaining that community and continuing to cultivate that for us.
That's a word. I mean, that was, yeah. Because that's what it's about. It's about purpose, you know, and why we're here and what we're doing. And I feel like with new creatives and new people coming into this industry that are so overwhelmed at how to get in and how to assert themselves. And I was that person too. You know, you're the best and you think you're the best, but how do you achieve how do you get to where you are Ada, or you are Chardae, or you are Mercedes? And it just seems like so much just to go and talk to the person that is under you, your intern or assistant of somebody, and that there is a community that is here for us to help each other and bring more people in. You know, the gatekeepers can't stay the gatekeepers forever. We are the gatekeepers because we are the culture.
The gate is
The
open.
gate is wide open.
It's open.
Don't be children. Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much, Shadow and Act, for just supporting this conversation, for being here, for being a safe space for Black creatives to come together and speak openly about what we love and what we do. Thank you to our inspiring ladies for joining me on this panel and sharing their wisdom. Thank you for sharing your stories and your growth and your success with us. And join us here again tomorrow for more Sundance Film Festival. Goodbye.